Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. Good crack of noon to our friends on the East Coast. I am Todd Obert, President and CEO of Productive Corporation. Joined here alongside me in uniform is Pete Greco, VP of Sales and Technology. He and Intercept X are going to ask and answer the hard questions today. So prepare for something very interesting. I want to thank you for attending our web event today. If you have been here in the past, you know how we do it. We like to meet Productive in 1 minute and then get directly in to the technology. As you know, we're going to be talking about Sophos Intercept X version 2.0, how it works with synchronized security and Sophos Central, which is the cloud interface to manage all of these products. He's going to show you a demo after going through some slides, and it's going to be pretty awesome. If you have a question, utilize the chat feature, and we will get your questions answered throughout the session. But for now, let's buckle up and get ready to meet Productive. Who is Productive Corporation, you say? Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to ask. Productive Corporation provides security solutions for mid-sized companies. We specialize in licensing, technical questions, licensing, and do a bunch of third-party services around the technology that we sell. We do everything from implementing, testing, and optimizing the products that we sell, whether that's a security assessment to review where you're at relative to your security posture, Active Directory services, configuration of a gateway or UTM, extending and taking a look at how you are deploying your endpoint. We do all those things. We also produce a lot of third-party content. You can find that on productivecorp.com/content as well as our YouTube channel. In fact, today's webinar will go up there as well. The bottom line is we have the resources to help you, whether that's implementation, assessment, licensing, optimization services, or help with the publisher. We are here to help. Help at productivecorp.com. So with that, I would say welcome once again. If you were on right at the top of the broadcast, you know that we are having Mr. Pete Greco, our VP of Sales and Technology, talk about Intercept X and what is new, what's happening out there. Ransomware continues to evolve and create new variations, and Intercept X helps you to find it, remediate it, and truly view what has happened in your environment, how extensive it's been. Found out, just even last week I got a call from a customer that they had not purchased Intercept X, and when they were calling, they really wished they had, because they had been breached. And these guys understand technology and are aware of what's going on, and if they would have simply had a next-gen protection solution like Intercept X, it would have saved them tons of man hours and headache, and they would have had that peace of mind that things were secure, that they don't actually have a system out there that is somehow breached and exfilling data, or locked up and unusable. So anyway, that's where we're at. So for now, let's turn it over to Mr. Pete Greco, our VP of Sales and Technology, to wow us with his knowledge of ransomware and the next gen solutions to prevent it. Ladies and gentlemen, Pete Greco.
All right. Thanks so much, T.O. Thanks, everybody, for hopping on with us today. As soon as I get my screen shared here, we will be moving forward. So here we go. So one of the big benefits of taking advantage of the Sophos Protection Suite is they do lots of stuff to help you out. They're protecting lots of different kinds of OSs, and that extends into the mobile category, where there are lots of vectors coming in to access data. So that's an important thing to start paying attention to. Continuously read about Mac exploits and weaknesses in Mac. So if you have a Mac shop or if you have a lot of Macs, you definitely want to get protection. You can't go down the road of there are no viruses or no attacks for Mac. It's simply not the case. And of course, Windows, the gold standard for the corporate network, tons of attacks, and we're going to highlight a few of those as we're having this conversation. So endpoint security is one of the components, right, that Sophos provides, and that includes the standard anti-malware and device control and application control and a lot of this stuff that you may have but may not be using already in your current endpoint product. Added onto that is this new first layer approach to blocking and stopping a lot of hacking techniques, Intercept X. That's what we're going to be talking about today. They also cover the gateway with lots of great protections there from standard and next gen firewall capabilities, UTM capabilities. That includes web filter and email protection, data encryption, all kinds of things that work together and tie in together to provide a blanket of protection to defend the environment. Right? And then what Sophos has done is they've created a communication link between all of these products that they call synchronized security. And how that manifests itself is if you have an endpoint that is maybe reaching out to a command and control server, trying to get that first payload, right? So no malware has happened yet, but it's reaching out to a bad site. The firewall detects that, it blocks that traffic, and that's great. And that's not uncommon for a next gen or a UTM firewall to do, right? But it doesn't stop there. The next thing it does then, and this is where the synchronized security comes into play, is it communicates back to the endpoint and says, what application is originating this traffic? Because that's bad traffic. Kill that application. And so before anything has gone off, from a malware standpoint or an attack standpoint, now it's finding out, well, this application is going to be bad. It hasn't done anything bad yet, but it's going to be bad. Let's go ahead and preempt that and stop that. If you're also running the safeguard encryption, while this is going on, it can go ahead and remove the encryption key so that all the data goes into a protected state while it's in the process of remediating something that is about to happen. Once that is complete, and this is configurable, and this is something that we can show on a custom demo to anybody who's interested in seeing. Once it's complete, the admin can go in and investigate and decide to release the machine back onto the network and the internet, or you can configure it to automatically get allowed back on, and that can be for different folks. Maybe your most sensitive and critical users, you want to do that review and make sure that that everything is safe, or maybe you want to make sure that they're able to get back to work as quickly as possible so that they're not screaming and yelling. So a lot of different ways to address that. It's really a cool feature. We don't see anybody doing it at the extent that Sophos is doing it. And we think it's really the future landing today, right? So definitely one of the neat things. Some of the things that Intercept X is doing now, I refer to this as a new first layer, right? So this isn't a backup to your antivirus. And thinking about it that way, I think can be problematic, because what you're really doing then is making the assumption that every attack is a virus, a Trojan, or a worm or something like this that is going to get scanned. And if you don't have a signature yet, you soon will. That will help you defend against some of these kinds of attacks. But the reality is there's a whole bunch of attack vectors that have nothing to do with viruses. They're not necessarily viral. And a lot of these protections here are looking for fileless malware where there's no read or write from disk. And if nothing is getting read or written from the disk, then there's nothing for that antivirus product to scan. So I want everybody to think about this like we're adding in web filtering, right? Web filtering didn't enhance your antivirus. It's doing a totally different thing. Or email security. Email security didn't enhance antivirus or backup antivirus or vice versa. It's a totally separate thing. And that's what this is as well.
So
let's talk about a couple.
Is that,
yeah.
So will root cause analysis show you that as well?
Will it show you
so the fileless malware, if there's a fileless malware has affected, or it's a malicious process migration, can it show you that?
So yes, so it's going to show most kinds of attacks that get perpetrated. Now there's a couple of things that are actually more of a block of a hacking technique. So it's not scanning for a hack. So for example, on application verifier, which, and let me just tell you real quick what that is. So the Microsoft application verifier tool basically helps developers create code that then becomes launchable. It's a feature that is built into Microsoft that developers are taking advantage of. Well, there's a malware out there called Double Agent. Double Agent is actually using application verifier in order to compromise running programs. And one of the biggest targets early on from last year was your antivirus application. And so it's taking over your antivirus as it's running. It's basically converting it into malware. The first component of that is to disable the antivirus scanning and alerting, right? So it's not going to report anything back showing you that that machine is offline or that agent is down. And then it's going to use your agent to carry out the malware. Once it executes the first two parts of that, they can bring on any old-fashioned virus that's going to be successful because you're not even running a base level of protection now. Now, it's not exclusively, and a lot of the early AV guys that were attacked have patches out now, but it's not exclusive to AV. It can compromise any program installed on the machine. But if you can compromise the AV, right, then you're going to be extremely vulnerable to anything else that they bring along. And that can include ransomware. It could include data theft. It could create persistence to continue compromising other machines on the network. All kinds of fun things. Application verifier attacks are not going to show up in the RCA because they're not recording any information. It's basically hidden. So what you want to do is you want to block the earlier parts of that kill chain before it even gets to where it can expose or leverage the application verifier, right? So pretty much everything else is going to show up, but that's one of the things that may not show up in, now they're calling it threat cases, Todd, in the root cause analysis, which is how we have it labeled on this webinar. But when we show the console, you're going to see it's now referred to as threat cases. Wow. And we'll show you how that looks. So all of these things here that we're seeing on the screen, these are hacking techniques. So antivirus isn't going to see them as far as it's concerned. There's nothing to see, but a lot of nasty stuff here. Process privilege escalation. Let's block that so that we're not taking a compromised user account and turning it into an admin account. And now we're flowing maybe into the DC and creating our own admin account that we're hiding, making it hard for you to find, and then controlling the whole network, accessing system accounts and escalating those privileges, taking advantage of process hollowing. That happens when a process is created in a suspended state, and then its memory is unmapped and replaced with malicious code. And again, AV cannot see this. This is very similar to process injection, right? And then the execution of the malware, of the fileless malware, is really deemed to be a legitimate process and it evades defenses and detection. So that's some of the stuff that we want to block for sure, right? And then new registry protection. So sticky key is a potentially nasty little exploit where they're taking advantage of sticky keys, which is effectively creating a legitimate keystroke logger. So most antivirus products, if not all, are looking for keystroke loggers, but now we're using the debug tool that's a part of Windows to record keystrokes, theoretically, so that we can go through and figure out why applications are crashing or bombing out or whatever. And so AV is not paying attention to that, but now we can have a file that contains usernames and passwords and websites and all kinds of information that has been completely bypassed. We want to stop those kinds of attacks. We want to protect the registry and make sure that items aren't getting added anymore that help create persistence, because a lot of these things are running in memory, so a reboot could clear them off. So you need a registry entry so that that persistence can reestablish once that machine starts up again, right? HTA, application lockdown. This is basically pretty interesting. I had not heard about this or didn't understand this kind of an attack. What can happen is programs can come through the browser and then get launched as if it's a browser add-on or posing as a browser. Once it's doing that, though, the regular protections that are built into Chrome or Firefox or IE no longer apply. And so what the ATA, application lockdown, does is it applies those kind of protections to anything that's posing as a browser or a browser add-on. And that's going to prevent a lot of exploits from being able to launch. So what we're doing with a lot of these protections is not waiting for something to occur and then trying to figure out how to remediate it. We're blocking the tools that are used to start or initiate an attack. And that's what really makes this thing, you know, that more modern protection against some of these modern threats. And the scary thing is some of these threats are not brand new. They've been around for a long time, and that's where you've seen some of these big attacks against, you know, the major name brands, because they haven't had this kind of protection, and that's how they're getting into the environments. So one of the big things that everybody is talking about, and you know, this is definitely a key area, is ransomware, right? And Todd mentioned some folks that we talked to last week who had a ransomware attack. Obviously creates a big slowdown for you, losing data, losing money, losing uptime, right, is painful. This is the result of what you see there. One of the components of Intercept X is called CryptoGuard. And for a lot of the older ransomwares like a Locky, now WannaCry, CryptoWall, CryptoLocker, all of these things, most everybody has a signature for. And so when they see that known sample come in, their antivirus is gonna stop it. So some of the modern ransomwares are going fileless so that there's nothing to scan. So even if it looks like a CryptoLocker or looks like a CryptoWall, hopefully your AV is going to stop it. But if there's nothing to scan when that payload comes in, your AV is going to bypass that file and let it come on through, or bypass that attack and let it come on through, right? So part of what CryptoGuard is doing is it's not waiting for the payload to arrive. So it's monitoring file access. It's looking for things to get marked to be encrypted. It's looking for things to get, or for files to be accessed in a rapid format, trying to identify what they are. And then it's trying to block the attack before it occurs. So block the technique before the attack can happen. So it's looking for malicious processes, stopping them and blocking them. From there, then it's going into a remediation mode. So anything that has happened, now it's going to roll back to the moment right before the attack began and restore that machine back to its natural order. And then it's going to give you that forensic ability previously known. And any current Sophos customers that might be on, you're probably still seeing this in your console as root cause analysis. In my pre-release version, you're going to see it as threat cases. And it's really going to be the same thing. It looks a little bit differently. I think they're trying to enhance the cosmetic nature of it to make it a little more usable for the end user, give you a few less clicks, but really giving you the same capability, right? And so what the root cause analysis is going to do, or the threat case, is it's going to show you a picture of what that machine looked like when the attack occurred. And this is going to give you visibility to see what was running and what got touched by the attack, so that you can figure out if you have any data loss or have any additional remediation that you need to do, or that kind of stuff. So it's pretty slick. When you get a look at it, yeah, you'll be able to get a real good visualization on how you would be using this in your environment. So if we do have any Sophos customers on already, if you're running the on-prem product, these agents are going to look a little bit different to what you're used to seeing. If you're just running the Sophos Central, what you're used to seeing is the malware and PUAs, the web threats and the controlled items. This would be application control and device control capability. Adding the Intercept X is going to add these 3 boxes onto your agent, and then it's going to add the ransomware detection, safe browsing, exploit mitigation, and malicious traffic. And then it's going to add the machine learning, which they refer to as deep learning. And basically, the cool thing about machine learning is what it's really doing is understanding how your machine and your network runs, so that it can understand what's good and what's bad, so that it can stop attacks and threats that it's never seen before, based on what it's already learned from your whole network, right? Your individual machine, the other networks that are connected to the Sophos cloud, right? So learning from all the other end users out there. And then it's pre-fed with basically over 30 years of research and threat collection and actual threats that Sophos has collected, since their time in business. So it starts off right out of the bat as a pretty intelligent tool that's going to continue to get smarter and smarter. And my opinion is that probably in the next couple of years, we'll see the machine learning probably replacing the need for antivirus. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think the user community would be ready to trust that yet. But I think that that's where it's going. And one of the nice things about the machine learning is that database doesn't grow, because you're not continuing to feed additional signatures into that thing like you are with your antivirus. This is operating a little bit more like your brain. When you continue to learn, your head doesn't get bigger, right? You are getting smarter, but your hat size isn't changing. And this is very similar to that kind of concept. So let's take a look.
Let's do this. I'm ready to see it.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay,
we're looking good.
Browser.
Yep.
Yep. So we're at the login screen here. Two-factor can be enabled here if you want to make sure that you have just a little bit of extra protection. When you first log in, you're looking at a dashboard, and depending on the components that you own, your dashboard may look similar or may look a little bit different to mine. I have a lot of things enabled here. We talked a little bit earlier about protection at the gateway, protection for mobile, right? Email security, phishing training. So a lot of things that you can add in here. When we're talking about the Intercept X, historically, and this product is not brand new, it's been out, a lot of new features in it, but this product has been available for a couple of years now, so it's really tried and tested in the real world. Historically, it was only available for workstations and laptops. That's now been added to the servers. So you're going to get all of those same hacking protections for the servers now is what you can get on the endpoints, or that's pending release here this month. I have it enabled on mine as a pre-release candidate. That's going to be available to everybody, I believe, by the end of this month. As I drill into my dashboard here for the endpoint protection, my dashboard has changed a little bit. Now I'm just looking at things that pertain to my workstations and laptops here. I can see my machines. I can see my users. I can see which machines my users are logging onto and accessing. I can follow events based on the machine, the device, or the end user. So if I have an end user like myself who has multiple machines, I can see what I'm doing across all of those machines. If I click on the person, if I want to see what's happening on the machine, then I'll click on computers and go into there. So as I click on people now, I'll be able to come and find myself on here. Here we go. Right here. And you can see the machines that I've been accessing. This is my regular work machine. This is my regular home machine. This is my patch management machine. You can see the operating systems, test boxes. Up here you can see the events that I'm monitoring and which devices they happened on. If I had actually caused maybe a malware to come in, or maybe I was trying to go to a blocked website over and over again, then I could jump to that machine and see that things have been remediated, or I could see the other users using that machine. All kinds of cool stuff here that I can take advantage of. To get my end users in here, I can take advantage of a Active Directory tool that will create a one-way sync. It's not bi-directional, so there's no way back into Active Directory through Sophos Central or from the internet or from the cloud, right? So it's effectively going to kind of do a cut and paste. I run it off of my local workstation on demand. You can configure it to run on schedule if you have a lot of AD changes. You can run it on any system that is not the DC. That's the only place where it won't work. And again, that's designed for a security standpoint, right? My policies are user-based. So when I go log on to somebody else's machine, the policy that applies to Pete now applies to the machine that I've logged on to. So from an admin standpoint, the thing that I really dig about it is when I need to download a patch or an executable or a fix or a utility or whatever on Steve's machine or Sean's machine or Tim's machine, they can't download that stuff. My web filter is going to stop it. My application control may block it from running. My device control might prevent a thumb drive from getting plugged in. But if I simply log on as me, all of those policies change automatically to what my policy is. So I did that, and then I also like that when Steve goes around and logs on from machine to machine, the policy that I want applying to his role or him individually follows him regardless of where he goes. Now I can also create a device-based policy. So maybe I've got a kiosk machine or a training lab or whatever, and I want to make sure that no matter who's logged on, they can get to this website or run this program or do whatever. I can create a device-based policy that applies to a specific machine versus my default user-based policy, but pretty slick. Now for servers, always going to be a device-based policy, so you don't have to worry about things changing because somebody different logged on. That's a little bit different for the server. So again, on some of your consoles, if you're a Sophos user, you might see this here as root cause analysis. My updated version now calling it threat cases. Let me just jump in here. I've got some filtering up here now that's somewhat new. So instead of looking at all of my machines, and I would be able to see servers in here as well. So even though I'm not in the server category, I'll be able to see all of my cases in here, regardless if it happened on a server or a workstation, making it easy to get visibility into here. So I just want to look at things that are new or things that are in progress. I put on my filter. I can change that priority level if I wanted to. You can see I've got quite a few tests. This is my test machine here. So all of these are test cases. If I go to in progress, though, you can see one that happened on a real live machine. If I click on the threat itself, then I'm going to get in here and get to this picture. Come on, baby. Load up. There we go. And so you can see a lot of action down here. I've got a lot of information. I've got files. I've got processes. I've got URL or external connections. The red dot is showing me where the threat originated from. So Chrome, in this case, the beacon or the blue dot is the attack itself, and I can zoom in on that so I can really get a good look. Now, this is pretty crowded. I can move these around so I can see what's going on. And it takes me 1 second here to figure out this launched from Chrome. It was a URL. No other process or file or registry key is touching this, so it was unsuccessful at doing anything. If I saw a bunch of files or registry keys or any of these items that you see here actually connected to this dot, I may have something to investigate or something to worry about. In this case, I can tell pretty quick that I'm clean. I can close this out. I only left it in process really to show for this event. Right, I'm ready to move on to my next thing. So that's a pretty high level conversation about a fairly extensive product. The antivirus has a lot of great features. We'd love to show it to you if you're thinking about it. If you have a current endpoint product that you like, you've got it configured, it's taking care of you, you like this additional component, you can add the Intercept X onto a McAfee or a Symantec or a AVG or an ESET to get these additional protections, and we'd be happy to talk to you about it in either way. Todd, if we don't have any questions, I see I've gone past my allocation of time. I'll kick it back over to you.
Yeah, cool, man. Great stuff, as always. And I love the root cause analysis. In fact, I think we should just show that the whole time and watch it populate and launch stuff and watch it get cleaned up. It's like the blinking lights on the LED meter, although this actually does something. That just captivated me. But yeah, so go ahead.
You know, where it's really getting cool, and I've seen the preview of this, is the next release is going to include a movie-like function where you'll actually see it play and see how these things interacted in motion, which I'm excited to see. And folks who have this product are going to get that when that release is available as a part of their maintenance.
Yeah, no, that's yeah, I've seen a little bit of that. That is cool. And for those people on the product, that they are going to be super happy seeing that. But for now, hey, thanks everybody for taking the time out of your day. We know that 30 minutes is a lot to dedicate to us and to carve out of any of your days. So truly appreciate that. Pete, fantastic presentation. This will be up on our webpage, and you can check it out or share with your colleagues if you'd like. And in the meantime, I wish everybody a happy day and fantastic balance of your week. I'm Todd Obert, along with Pete Greco from Productive, signing off. Take care. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.